Hello everyone, this is Spring Porter with Spring Solutions LLC. In this video, I wanted to discuss why there are unclaimed funds in bankruptcy. Usually when people think about bankruptcy, it's usually in terms of them not having enough money and everything must go. That's not necessarily the case. Um, and I'm going to discuss that in terms of a Chapter 7 and Chapter 13 and why. And I'll be showing you also the unclaimed funds locator and why it's listed the way that it's listed here. So if you're interested in knowing why, please stay tuned. If you are in need of a legal representation, please note that I am not an attorney. You need to find one, do your research and find one in your local area or jurisdiction that can represent you or assist you in your legal questions or legal matter. This video is just basic information on unclaimed funds and why, things are available. So with that being said, let's start here. Okay, so why are there unclaimed funds in bankruptcy? So I want to give a little recap to a Chapter 7 and Chapter 13, just sort of basic information. If you have not watched my video about the intro to Chapter 7 and 13, sort of a bankruptcy 101, please stop this video and watch that one, because that one will go in a little bit more detail about just what a Chapter 7 means and what a Chapter 13 means. I'm just recapping here. A Chapter 7, under normal circumstances, is going to last you about 4 to 5 months. The debtor, and it could be a company, an individual, or a couple filing, like a husband and wife. And they will usually have their non-exempt properties sold by the trustee to pay back their creditors. It's not always a liquidation. They do get to keep some exempt property. And I talked about that in my other video that I mentioned earlier. So anything that's outside that state allocated exemption should be sold by the trustee so that they can pay back the creditors. And when that happens, it is an asset case, and proof of claims are going to need to be filed by the creditors to receive payment. Okay, so that's a Chapter 7, and that's how, the money does become available initially, because property was sold and non-exempt property was sold and creditors have filed a claim. Chapter 13, this usually lasts between 3 to 5 years. Usually there's more income, maybe there's more stuff or more assets. The debtor will have to pay into a plan. Again, that plan is 3 to 5 years. In the plan, the debtor pays back the administrative trustee fees, so like court fees. They pay their attorney's fees, and they also pay back their creditors to a certain percent. Sometimes it's 100%, meaning they pay back the creditor everything they owe them. Sometimes it's maybe just 50 cents to the dollar or 25 cents to the dollar. It just depends on what's going on, how was that plan structured. So similar to the Chapter 7, creditors will need to file proof of claims if they want to get paid. Okay, so if the creditors do not file a proof of claim, their chances of getting paid is really slim to none. Okay, so why are there funds available? So again, unclaimed funds can be returned to the creditor or the debtor, usually because the creditor may have moved, they did not change their address with the court, and again, Chapter 13 cases, the creditors may not see payment for their claims they may see it in year 4. They may see it in year 2. It just depends, or year 3 rather. They may see it toward the end of year 3. Maybe in the 5th year. So some forget about it is what I'm saying. The creditors, the money takes a long time for them to come to the creditors, and they forget about it. Some companies go under, they get dissolved, they move, they change resident agents, and they just become unaware. And so unclaimed funds are available to the debtor, usually because the case gets dismissed. The funds that were once paying into that plan, the funds no longer get distributed to the creditors. So the funds have to go back to the debtor at that point. They can't just keep paying back, the creditor. So the funds have to go back to the debtor. And in most cases, the debtors move too. Some of them may not even notify their attorney. And so the court is unaware of updates to their to addresses. They have limited resources, the court that is, so they're not going to do skip tracing. They're going to just send it to the last known address, and if it comes back as unclaimed or unreturned. If it goes forward, then it goes forward. And again, this is sort of an issue with case management. the lack of case management in terms of maybe attorneys. Having worked for attorneys for 10 years, I can really attest to the fact that a lot of them have poor case management, especially in terms of bankruptcy law firms. They tend to run like sort of a factory, and they kind of churn them out. And they don't notify or let um, their clients know that please notify me of your address change. It's important. Most of Chapter 13 cases will get dismissed. They're really unsuccessful. I wish I knew the percent, but having worked at bankruptcy attorneys, I rarely remember seeing a lot of the Chapter 13s get completed. So there's usually a lot of funds because they can't keep up with those payments. The cases get dismissed, and here you have unclaimed money, and then you also have an attorney that is not really following up, uh, with their client, because the attorneys, if the debtor is represented by an attorney, the attorney is also getting a notification that there are unclaimed property. So it may not be on a top list of priorities for them to do this. So at any rate, the courts send the checks to the debtors or the creditors to the address that was listed in the court, and once the checks don't get deposited within the allotted time frame, usually between 60 and 90 days, the check will go back to the court register, and this is what makes the funds unclaimed, and it makes them available for money locators to research them. So that, in a nutshell, is why there are unclaimed funds. Again, the case has been dismissed. A company moves, they don't notify, of an address change. Sometimes there are funds available. Let's say there's a tax refund, and maybe that is non-exempt. And so the debtor actually gets that money to them. So there are different number of reasons of why money becomes available. Assets are sold. Maybe there's someone else listed on the deed and they get funds. There's a plethora of reasons for why money is available. But you'll know that once you click into the case and the case docket, and you'll be able to research and find out what's available and why. So if we're just looking at this particular, I'm always at the U.S. Courts Unclaimed Funds Locator. So that's ucf.uscourts.gov. And I wanted to just show you again what it looks like when a creditor gets money back and when a debtor gets money back, like how it's listed here. So I've typed in Alabama. This is the middle district in Alabama for the bankruptcy court. There are over 10,000 creditors listed here that have unclaimed funds coming back. So it's a common theme. This is just one district in one state, and there's over 10,000. So there are a lot of cases where there is money left over. It happens a lot. So in this particular one, Bank of America is the creditor, and they filed a claim in Mr. Hawkins, Bradford Hawkins' case. And so Bank of America filed a claim for $31,429. Now, the Bank of America may have filed something more than $31,000, but the trustee is only allowing $31,000. And to be sure, again, I have a video on how I research creditors in Pacer to find out, what the proof of claim looks like. Please check out that video if you're interested in doing unclaimed funds for creditors. At any rate, this is what it looks like when you're coming here. The creditor is getting money back in this particular case, and this is the debtor. Now I'm going to research just a little bit further, and I'll show you what it looks like when the debtor has money coming back to them, because ironically they're also listed as a creditor. That's just the way that it is listed here. So if I keep going a little bit further, okay, so Vanessa and Roy Sanders, it looks like they're a married couple. Possibly they filed a joint bankruptcy together, and at some point it probably got dismissed. I'm not going to log into Pacer now because I have an in-depth video on how I do that already. But for the purposes of just knowing how to look at this and determine who gets what back, this is what you would do. So you would come here, you see, oh, the debtor and the creditor's name looks similar here. Vanessa Sanders, Vanessa Sanders. That means that the debtor is getting money back to them. So they probably are one that got dismissed, or maybe there was discharged and there's a little bit of money left over, and so here you have it. They get this money back, and this is about $4,000. So this is how you read this. This is always listed as the debtor. The debtor is the person who has filed bankruptcy. Either it's a company, it's a married couple, or it's an individual name. The creditor's name can be a creditor, a company, it could be an individual, or it can be the actual debtor. Um, so for example, right here, this is Sunset Point condominium owner. So a condominium went under, they filed bankruptcy, and Julie Moses, she probably lived there, so she filed a claim. And this is $5,000, right? So that's why her name is listed under the creditor. She's not necessarily the person that filed bankruptcy. So once you come to the screen and you kind of do your initial search to find out what's a good claim, you want to make sure that you check ECF Pacer and you continue with your search. One, to find out if the funds are available, and two, to find out, um, who you can contact, what the last known address was, and that sort of thing, to do some skip tracing to help you try to recover this. So that's how you read this. That's why the funds are available. I hope that makes more sense. Again, bankruptcy is not a liquidation and the person is left with absolutely nothing. There are on occasions, and you can see just from this middle district alone, where there are assets, there are unclaimed property that gets moved around that can actually go back to the debtor or creditor. So I hope that is helpful. Just one other small little piece of information that is important to know the why. I always think it's important to know the why as to when you're doing something like this. So I hope this was helpful. If this is helpful to you, please like, subscribe, and maybe just tune into my channel to find out more information on unclaimed funds as it pertains to bankruptcy. And until next time, see ya. Have a good day.